Hello, dear viewers, welcome back. I am Dr. Paul. Today, we will be discussing a subject that will be trending, if I may use that word, in all our minds, the COVID-19 vaccine. When to expect it, what to expect from it. Now, you would be privy to a lot of information about the COVID vaccine. Like Russia has launched the first vaccine against COVID. India is soon launching an indigenous vaccine, and this vaccine is in phase 2 trial. This vaccine is in phase 3 trial. So, what to make out from all this information? So, what is a vaccine? You are all aware that the immune system of our body fights off viruses by producing antibodies against it. So when a new type of virus enters the body for the first time, the body has to correctly identify the virus and produce antibodies that are specific against that virus, so that the antibody only destroys the virus and does not harm any of the other normal cells in the body. So this process takes time. It takes around 1 to 4 weeks for the body to identify a new virus and start producing antibodies against it. But by this time, the virus would have multiplied in our body and produced the disease. But the story is different the second time the same virus attacks our body. That time, all this information regarding the first encounter will be stored in the body in the form of memory cells. And the second time round, when the same virus attacks the body, we can mount an immune response or produce antibodies at a much faster rate and can clear the virus from our body before it produces the disease. The body doesn't see the virus like how we see the virus under the microscope, the whole virus. The body sees the virus as its components, a particular protein or a genetic material that is specific to that virus. So these vaccines are nothing but these proteins or genetic material that is unique to this particular virus that is made into an injectable form. So when this vaccine is given to a person, he produces antibodies against that protein and by extension against that virus. So when the actual virus invades the body will be ready with the antibodies and can clear off the virus in no time. The vaccine, like any other medication, has to undergo the clinical trials and the preclinical trials. So what are these? So they can be divided into preclinical trials and clinical trials. The preclinical trials involve testing that happens outside the human being's body. So it may be in animal models. Once we identify some promising substance or medicine, it moves on to the clinical trials. Now, clinical trials can be divided into 3 main phases. The main feature of phase 1 trial is that it is carried out on normal healthy volunteers, not on patients. Now, it is different from vaccines because vaccines are anyway intended to be given to healthy people. The main aim of the study is to find out any harmful effects or adverse effects of the vaccine and what is the optimum dose that can be given to people. It does not give us much information about how good the vaccine is or what is the efficacy of the vaccine. So if there are no harmful effects noted, the drug or the vaccine moves on to phase 2 trial. It is in phase 2 trial, the vaccine is actually tried on the people who are intended to get the vaccine. It takes weeks to months to finish phase 2 trial. And the aim of this trial is again to look for any adverse effects, and also the beneficial effect of the vaccine can be noted. But here too, the actual efficacy or how good the vaccine is in actually stopping the disease is not proven. For that, we need something called as case control study, which happens in phase 3. So if there are no harmful effects noted, the vaccine moves on to the final phase 3 trial. So in a gist, the phase 1 trial goes on for a few weeks, and the main aim of the trial is to find out any adverse effect of the vaccine and to find out the optimum dose of the vaccine. The phase 2 trial typically goes on from a few weeks to a few months, and again the main aim is to look for any adverse effect of the vaccine. The phase 3 trial goes on for a few months, and the main aim of the phase 3 trial is to see how efficacious the vaccine is. So once you know about the different phases of this clinical trial, their approximate duration and what they are used for, you will be in a better place to understand the news about this COVID vaccines. Now you would have heard about the Russian vaccine, the Sputnik 5, and the controversy regarding the same. The main reason for this controversy is that they only started their phase 1 trial in June, July, around that time, and they came out with the vaccine by August. So there has not been physically enough time for the vaccine to go through all these different phases of clinical trial. So that is why there is some doubts in the international community regarding the Russian vaccine. And even though Russia has offered this vaccine to the United States and to India, because of these controversies and doubts regarding this vaccine, the respective governments are not very keen. So, leaving these out, the three vaccines which I feel are the most important contenders and most likely to reach you and me first are as follows. The first one is a joint venture between the Pfizer pharma giant and the German pharma company BioNTech. So their vaccine is in the phase 3 trials and it is likely to end by November. And the other one, you would have heard about the Oxford vaccine, which is being developed in conjunction with the AstraZeneca pharma giant. That too is in phase 3 trial and it should end by November. The Oxford vaccine also has an Indian arm of their phase 3 trials. So studies are expected to start in the next couple of weeks in India as part of their phase 3 trials. And the vaccine will be known as Covishield. Moderna is also not far behind. They also have a vaccine in the phase 3 trials. So these three vaccines are most likely to conclude, the trials are most likely to conclude by November. And if the vaccine is proven to be efficacious, it will most likely enter mass production by an optimistic estimate by January 2020. Now coming to the Indian indigenous vaccine Covaxin, which is jointly being developed by Bharat Biotech, the ICMR and the Virology Institute in Pune. This vaccine is actually trailing behind the other three vaccines which we just spoke about. Our vaccine is just entering the phase 2 trials. It had shown good results in the phase 1 trials, which means no adverse effects were identified in the phase 1 trials. Now phase 2 trials will commence and it will go on for a few weeks to months. And if there are no adverse effects even in the phase 2 trials, it will move on to the phase 3 trials where the actual efficacy of the vaccine will be tested. And if the vaccine proves to be efficacious in the phase 3 trials, it will start mass production. So by an optimistic estimate, it should take at least February to March 2021 for our indigenous vaccine to reach us. Generally, only about 1/3 of the drugs being tested in phase 2 trial moves on to phase 3 trials. 2/3 of them demonstrate some adverse effect which do not allow them to move on to phase 3 trial. And the drugs that come to phase 3 trial, only about half of them finally make it into production. Half of them will not be able to demonstrate any efficacy. So any which way, we can expect COVID vaccine to reach us by early 2021, in January 2021. So until that time, let's hope that all these various measures that we are taking and our government is taking helps to keep the disease in check. Let's also hope and pray that the vaccines pass through all these different phases of clinical trials successfully so that it reaches us quickly. So I hope this video has helped you to understand how a vaccine is being developed and to make an educated guess on when the vaccine should be available to you and me. Thank you for your patient listening.